Oh, okay.
Okay,
Oh,
guys,
okay.
we're gonna let people in. We've got 32 people signed up, but I'd like to start letting people in.
I don't see anybody yet.
I have 8 people, 5.
I love that background image.
Oh, did you?
Oh, I didn't make you a co-host. Just a
Right,
second.
you need. Okay, I was gonna say I only see the 3 of us. You need to make me a co-host so I can help you. My fault.
Okay, Sean, are you a co-host too? Here, okay, there we go.
I'm admitting everybody. They're coming in.
Okay, you want to let people in? All right.
Coming in.
Hi, Suzanne. Oh my goodness. Oh, your hair's gotten long.
Yeah. COVID hair.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Hi, folks. Okay, we don't have very many people. Oh, here's, yes, okay. So Shannon, you're just going to keep letting folks in, right?
Oh, keep letting them in.
It was interesting on the sign-in screen while I was waiting to be admitted, it said neighborhood animal issues meetup.
Yeah, we figured that out. I did an animal issues meetup on Tuesday night. And
Oh, you're a busy woman.
Yeah, I know.
Hi.
Nancy, you're not in the screen. Do you know?
I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm here though, I promise.
Okay, it is good to see you. I haven't seen you in a very long time.
Here I am.
There you are. When I share screen, I'm just curious. So Shannon, tell me this. Can you see, how many people can you see?
We have 13. There's 13 of us total in the meetup right now.
Okay, just a second here. I'm going to click on this screen.
14. I'm sorry, I got to let in Denise. We'll be 14.
Okay, and I'm going to put, now I just pulled up my participant list. You can't see that on my side, right? You can't see that, my participant list?
Nope.
Okay, that's good to know. All right.
Oh, you got secret people we don't know about?
No secret people. So we'll give people, let's see, how much, like I said, there's 32 people signed up. We've got 14 in here. It's 12.
That sounds about right. That's about the way we roll here in Austin.
All right. Oh, well, we've got another one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to wait maybe a minute or two before I start. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Yeah, I don't. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to put that way over there. Did you get that last one, Shannon?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. There's 16 people in here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty soon, I'm going to have a few slides, but then I'll stop sharing the slide screen and we'll be on gallery view so we can see all of our lovely faces better. Okay. Since it's a networking event, I thought that would be more appropriate for today. So let's see, what time is it?
Nancy, at some point, if you want to do breakout rooms, I think I can do that.
No, I don't want to do breakout rooms.
Okay.
I had a family reunion that I tried to do breakout rooms with, and I wasn't happy with how it went. So until I'd have to practice with you or something. I'm just,
sure.
Yeah.
We can do that together.
Okay, I think I'm comfortable going ahead and starting. All right, so folks, welcome to Austin Nonprofit Meetup, and we are going to take care of a couple housekeeping issues first. I'd like to introduce you to Shannon Manfrom from Leap to Success, and she is my lovely Zoom co-host month after month. She's hung in here for 2 years with me, and I love that. If you need to chat with our Zoom co-host, Ms. Shannon, you can find her name in the drop-down menu of the chat box. But other than chatting with Shannon, I'm asking you to limit your chat box use because it's distracting when you're trying to speak and respond to the chat box. But I would love to see your lovely faces. So I've got you turned on for video, but of course you have the ability to turn yourself off if you're sitting there in your pajamas. I am asking you to keep your microphones muted until we get to the discussion part of our meetup. Because of the number of people we have today, I'll be asking you questions and calling on you by name to speak, to answer these questions. If I come to you and you're not ready to speak or you don't want to speak at all, feel free to either say pass or come back to me, all right? Now, I'm asking for your indulgence for just a few minutes. We have a lot of new people. We have people from all over the country lately attending our Austin Nonprofit Meetup. And so I just want to take a minute to explain a few things. First, I'm Nancy Manning, founder of both Power Your Mission and Austin Nonprofit Meetup. I started Austin Nonprofit Meetup a couple of years ago because even though Austin, Texas has about 6,000 nonprofits, there really wasn't anybody doing this, offering practical nuts and bolts help to nonprofit leaders month after month after month for very low cost. And so, and I still want to keep doing this. And a couple months ago, before the election, and I decided to do this networking event, I did that because we've been meeting for a couple of years and I wanted an opportunity for us to get to know each other better. But then election night, I saw that map, and the election map to me was a very powerful visual representation of how divided our country has become, or maybe always has been. And I knew I wanted to start something different or new. I don't want to stop doing what I'm doing every month with the nuts and bolts, and I'll keep doing that. But I want to add in a meetup, and hopefully I can do that once a month too. I'll have to see how my time goes. But I want to add a meetup that specifically addresses diversity and racism, if possible. Diversity, discrimination, racism, those kinds of things. Now, in my past life as a lawyer, working with Native Americans in Rapid City, South Dakota, I've worked more closely with folks that were healing these types of divides. And as a criminal justice instructor, I taught my students about the inequities in the justice system. And as the owner of a mediation and training center, I used activities to help folks appreciate differences and commonalities that they might have. But all of that was quite a long time ago. And what the last 4 years has taught me is that we just can't rest for a minute when it comes to inequities. So that's why I want to start dealing with this again in my life. And I hope that you'll support this. So I want to propose these 3 filters. Let's see, I hope that's the next slide. Yeah. And then at some point in the discussion, I'm going to ask you what you think about this. But these are the 3 filters I want to use. First of all, how do we increase diversity in our own nonprofits? Interestingly, nonprofits have recognized this as a problem, a lack of diversity, for probably a good 20 years, but still really haven't figured out exactly how to deal with it. Whereas the corporate world is doing a little bit better with this, both internally and externally. So that's my first idea that I want to start with in January, is how do we increase diversity? And I mean diversity in all aspects, you know, obviously race, sexual orientation, gender, religion, age, whatever it is. And that how do we increase diversity in our boards, staff, volunteers, and even our donors? So that's the first one. The second one is how are nonprofits dealing with this? Because I'm looking at this diversity issue through a nonprofit lens, obviously. What I want to do here is I want to invite nonprofits from all over the country who are doing something to address these issues to speak. And it could be nonprofits that deal with voter suppression, that deal with inequities in the justice system. It might be quality of life issues, you know, just the basics of life that might be impacted because of racism or discrimination. Housing, you know, it could be 100 different things, which means we could do this for a year, once a month. I don't know yet. I want to see how it goes. I want to see how much support there is for this kind of thing. So that's the second filter. The third filter is the most difficult one. And this is basically, how do we deal with racism and discrimination directly, person to person? My best friend told me 40 years ago, in fact, I remember exactly where we were when she told me this. She said, Nancy, you can only change the people you can touch. So my question is, how do we touch those people that have some kind of belief system that some people are less than others? How do we touch those people? And I'm kind of hoping, since that is the most difficult thing to deal with in my mind, I'm kind of hoping that when we have these nonprofits come and speak, that we'll start getting a sense of how do we do that. And then I'm hoping that as we're doing this, that we find ways to collaborate and help one another to address this problem. Okay, so those are my 3 filters. Now, as I said, I want to continue my nuts and bolts meetups every month. For those of you who have never been to these meetups, I frame all my meetups around the 5 focus areas that are common to all nonprofits. That would be programs, communication / outreach, resource development / fundraising, people, which would be your board, volunteers, and staff, and then finally operations. Now, we've only had 1 meetup in the last 2 years on operations. It was a budget and financing. We had Archie, who's a nonprofit CPA guy, come, and we had another speaker on investments for nonprofit. So in January, I'm going to have at least one operations meetup, and our speaker is going to be Sean Hale. And so Sean is here with us today. I'd just like to have Sean say hi to the nice people and briefly introduce themselves.
Hello, nice people. And Nancy, thank you for the warm welcome and for finding my favorite quote on my website. That's great. Because yeah, I've been doing nonprofit nuts and bolts for 20 years. I've gotten to wear all the hats over my career, but the one where I really feel like I add the most value is kind of all the stuff that happens behind the scenes so that the program staff and the fundraising staff and the board can really flourish in the roles that they're supposed to have and they're supposed to focus on. And I've really found that when you find a nonprofit that's doing really well, you look behind the scenes and they have a strong back office that's making it all happen almost invisibly, and vice versa. That when you have these great organizations who might have great programs and they figured out the fundraising, but they're still failing to thrive, they aren't able to scale. Very often, if you look past the surface, you'll find that there are 1 or more things happening in the back office that are holding them back because it becomes a distraction for the organization. And once you fix those things or enhance some of the things that they're doing, and the organization, it can do so much better. And sometimes these things, the fixes or the adjustments that you make are sometimes end up costing the organization less money than they were spending before. So you can actually make investments in the organization that are going to bring down the costs, increase productivity, and get the investment back in like 3, 6, 12 months. And people are happier. So I love helping out with that. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys in January a few of the things that I've found that you can do to make that happen.
Yay, thank you, Sean. Okay, we are going to start our networking event. And here's how I want to work this. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There won't be a PowerPoint up there. And all your lovely faces will then be there instead. And I will call on you. And if you would, give your name, your job title, the name of your nonprofit, vision and mission, briefly, and then what brought you to this meetup. And you'll see this is round 1. And let's see, we have currently.
Nancy, may I interject really quickly?
You bet.
I'd like to add one more thing to that, if we could, is that when you do your introduction, tell us something you need and something that another nonprofit might be able to share. Like, do you need a board member that does a certain thing? Do you need certain volunteers? I just think that would be very helpful.
Something that they need.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, you guys, I'm going to make the screen go away, so you're going to have to remember name, job title, your nonprofit, vision and mission, what you need, what brought you to the meetup. Or you could do an and or, what you need or what brought you to the meetup. But remember, let's see, we should probably, since 16 of the 32 people showed up, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes each. Okay, so I am going to stop the share and look at all you cute people. Oh. So it would be nice to have pictures of the people. If you're in your jammies, don't worry about it. But I'm going to start with, you know what? I'm going to start with somebody I've never, Denise. I don't think I know you. Denise, hi.
Hi.
Go
Yes.
ahead, please share.
All right. So I'm, it actually says Belkin. I just got married, so I'm Denise Anderson. So I've got to change it. I am a project manager with Bee Cave Recovery. Bee Cave Recovery is a new nonprofit. It's actually been about 2 years in the making, longer than that actually, but it is just started in February. We just received our license in February. We are an alcohol and substance abuse treatment. We are located in the Westlake area, pretty close to Barton Creek Mall. We decided to go into that area because there's not a lot of treatment centers near or in that area. We have an IOP, which is an intensive outpatient program. So people who want to start their recovery are able to work their normal 9-to-5 job, and then they can come to us in the evening. We have it's a 6-week Monday through Thursday, starts between 5 and 6 p.m. It's between 2.5 hours. We have a license, we have a clinician, our executive director, and actually because we are very new, we have a very lean staff. And so we're, so even though I'm the project manager, I'm kind of Jill of all trades in a way. I do everything, the marketing, social media. I am working to get credentialed with insurance companies, which is something extremely challenging I've never done before. But it's a great facility. The two people that founded it, one has worked with other nonprofits such as Austin Recovery. I know most of you probably know Austin Recovery here. He worked with them for many years. He's been with Anchor West and the Arbors, which are other huge facilities here in Austin. And then our executive director is a licensed social worker, and he's been involved in the industry for a long time. But both of them are also have been sober for, gosh, I think it's been over 40 years combined. Wow. So bring a wealth of information, wealth of knowledge. And since we started in February, COVID hit, and it hit us hard. And so we were able to start our very first class in June. And we do things, we're actually one of the only ones that do in-person sessions. We do in-person, but we also do Zoom for those who want to do that. We have a lot of precautions that we have to take, of course. Let's see.
What do you need? What brought you here?
So what brought me here is really because they started this as a nonprofit, and it's very new especially for me, that learning about nonprofits, learning about fundraising, development, all of that. So it's something that I'm really trying to really just learn a lot. I'm just trying to get as much information as possible, figuring out Amplify Austin, Giving Tuesday, all of those different programs out there.
Yeah.
So that's something I've.
Two things I want to say to you. One is in February, we'll start back on resource development. And so come every month because it's an hour and a half of your time and you will learn a lot. And the second thing I want to say is we have two other nonprofits in this that are members of this group. They are here today that I want to connect you with. One is called Promise Farms and one is Not a Glum Lot. And both relatively new but successful nonprofits. So I will send you an email later to connect you with those two guys, okay?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, well, glad to have you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Barbara, how about you?
Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm kind of an unusual bird here because I'm with two nonprofits, and the executive directors of both of those nonprofits are also here. So I'll make my remarks a little bit brief so that I don't step on the toes of my executive directors. Um, Both of these nonprofits I'm with are all volunteer organizations, which I think is a little different from most of you as well. We have absolutely no paid staff on either of these organizations. The first one that I'm going to talk about is the Funeral Consumers Alliance of Central Texas. Nancy Walker will be talking a little bit more about that. She's our executive director. Um, I'm a board member of the Funeral Consumers Alliance. What we try to do is to help consumers make good end of life choices. Um, when people are facing these decisions, when families are faced with a family member who's passing away or has passed, it's quite difficult. So what we try to do is to educate the public so that they understand the options that are available to them, and that they don't always have to choose or be coerced into the most expensive options. So that's what we try to do. It's a difficult subject to talk about. Obviously, a lot of people don't want to talk about it at all. So those are some of the challenges that we have with that organization. The other organization that I'm with is Hindu Charities for America, and I am on the board of directors for that. I am the vice president of programs, and we have chapters in Austin, which is the first chapter, and we have them also in Houston and Dallas, and we're just starting something in Los Angeles. So we're really excited about that. And our director, Harish Kotecha, will be talking a little bit more about our mission, which the mission is to bridge income disparities through education. So what we do is we offer scholarships we provide to students, and our scholarships are a little bit different than most organizations. Our scholarships are for students pursuing vocational careers. And the students must be very low income, and most are homeless in homeless situations. So we give the scholarships to mostly Austin Community College here through an organization called Capital Idea. We work very closely with them. But the idea is that we're helping these young people who are in the most dire of economic circumstances to escape poverty as quickly as possible. So we support vocational programs that pay somewhere around $40,000 to $50,000 for a starting wage, and they come out of these programs with much less debt than the traditional college student. So that's one thing we do. Another thing we do is to provide school supplies to students. We know that kids in homeless situations often don't have the supplies that they need to be successful in school, so we do that. And then the newest program that we have is to provide Wi-Fi connections to kids that are in homeless situations. And we were able to provide 200 Wi-Fi connections to kids in Manor ISD who otherwise wouldn't have been able to connect to the internet. So we're very excited about all that we do, and I've probably exceeded my but just what brought me here is I've attended other meetings, and I'm real impressed with what you do, Nancy. I think that we all can, yes, I think we can learn a lot from you, and I think we can learn a lot from each other. I really do. I think that we should, I love this idea that we're here to support one another and to help each other be successful. I don't look at us being in competition at all. I look at us being a cohesive group of people that want to work together and lift each other up, in, especially in some of these difficult times that we're going through. So that's what brought me here, and something that we need. Well, I think in both organizations, we just need to know how to do extended outreach to bring more people to our organization and to raise awareness of what we're doing. So that's mine.
Barbara, thank you so much. And I've loved having you. Your support has been very meaningful to me. And it's funny you should say about outreach, because yes, I think that as an attorney, when I practiced a little bit, I practiced for 5 years estate planning. You're right. People do not want to talk about that. Yeah. So outreach is a real challenge that organization. Let's, since Barbara let us in, let's do Harish, is that how you say your name?
Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So Barbara basically gave you the idea as to what we are doing. And one of the things is that we try to work with organizations that are more holistics. They would take the individual head of the household or a student and help them until they get a job. So this is something that we are trying to practice. So in Houston, for example, there is a organization similar to Capital Idea. And Capital Idea basically does that. They screen the students well, the potential candidates well, and then make sure, and they'll follow up until the time that they graduate. And the follow-up rate is very little, so it's not that high. But going back to the charity, this was founded in 2010. And essentially the whole idea for me was that I want to activate the Indian community, specifically, or the South Asian community, to take some responsibility for issues in United States. So that was the most motivating factor. If you look at the Indian community, it's doing fairly well economically, education-wise, related to the norm. And this is primarily the key. One of the key reasons is education. So the idea is to give back to where we live. So that's really fundamentally what we are. That's what motivated me to get this started. So now the charity is growing in the sense that we have some people, who are, more look at the charity more strategically. Then we have Barbara. By the way, I've been working with Barbara since 2010, since we founded the charity. Also, Sean, you might be interested that there is a Professor Kash Rangan at Harvard, and he has been working on the socio-economic, the transformation of charities into, looking at it more like a business. So we have had their guidance to move forward. Specifically on what we need, which is something that I wasn't expecting that here, is we are looking for a couple of board members. One is in area of legal, which is about 15-20 hours a year. The second one is treasury, which probably would be maybe 100 years to oversee the operation. And if we do have accountant and the chapters have treasurers as well. So those will be the two places that we need help. Another thing is that if there is any collaboration that we can do, especially with holistics type of organization, I'm sure that Barbara is open to it.
One suggestion, you said you need a treasurer, right?
Yeah.
When I worked for Travis Audubon, when I was the executive director there, we needed a treasurer. And the way I found the treasurer was there is a there's an association of accountants, I think, or something like that, right, Sean? Yeah, there's some association that allow you to post on there. And a lot of those people will volunteer to be treasurers on board. So you might want to check out something like that.
Okay.
I'll drop it into the chat box. It's Texas Society of CPAs.
Oh,
I'll drop it into the chat.
Oh, I'm so glad Sean is here. All right, Miss Nancy, you're on. Nancy Walker. Are you here? It's hard to tell because I just.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, there she goes.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, well, Barbara did a beautiful job introducing the Funeral Consumers Alliance here in Austin. We've been around since 1964. We used to have another brief name, the Austin Memorial and Burial Information Society. And as Barbara said, whether it's our previous name or our current name, Funeral Consumers Alliance, there's a word or two in there that can cause people to sort of back away from our display tables because it has to do with, death, death and dying. Yeah. Of course, it's very ironic that this is something let's just not hear that phone. Hang on a second. that the dying experience is something that every human being on the planet is going to face, but we're not as receptive to that as we are receptive to our arrival on planet Earth. So our challenge is to see if we can get people more comfortable talking about the other bookend, the one at the end of life. As Barbara said, our mission is to provide people with end-of-life information so that they can make educated, informed decisions. And when it comes to selecting funerals and things like that, something that is within their financial capability, as well as in alignment with what their choices are. What we're best known for is our annual funeral home price survey. We go out and pick up price lists from every funeral home, which is more than 50 in our 5-county service area, and we put their prices in a chart so that people can actually compare. And I'm telling you, it's a jaw dropper. For example, in our area currently, if you're interested in a cremation, you can pay as little as $595, or you can go a few miles up the road and pay a different funeral home over $4,000 for exactly the same thing. I also just want to put in a pitch that we're really big on people completing advance directive documents. Let's see.
What you need.
Yes, yeah, what we need. Of course, we're all volunteers, so we need a few more volunteers to fill out our board, and especially we're interested in having more diversity on our board than we currently have. We also need more guys. Most of our board members are women currently. And what brought us here today, I've been to a whole bunch of these meetups, and Nancy, I'm just so grateful for you and the information that you so knowledgeably and willingly provide to the nonprofits in our area.
Oh, thank you. Oh, warms my heart. All right. Okay. Hey, Cheryl. Cheryl, I think this is your first meetup, isn't it? Is it?
It's my second
Second?
meetup.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Cheryl Nantang. I am from an organization here in Austin called Scion Nonprofit Staffing and Recruiting. So definitely one thing that you brought up, Nancy, was people. So we definitely focus on finding diverse candidates for roles in a lot of the different nonprofits here in Austin. We're national, so we've worked with many nonprofits and foundations, organizations just all over the United States.
Hey,
So we're pretty new here to Austin.
Cheryl, you had your speaker down when you first started. What's the name of your nonprofit?
Oh, the company that I work for is Scion Nonprofit Staffing and Recruiting.
Oh, so Scion is not a nonprofit, but it recruits for nonprofits. Got
yes.
It. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah. And so basically, we help to provide diverse candidates for many different roles within nonprofits. I know that's sometimes a pain point. And definitely diversity is something that a lot of nonprofits are seeking. So we definitely assist with that. And basically, I'm here today just to reach out and provide a resource to nonprofits that are looking for people and need some assistance. That's what we're here for.
That's cool. And I might have to get in touch with you when I do the meetup on increasing our diversity in nonprofits. So thank you. All right, James, have you been here before?
I have not. This is my first meetup. So my name is James Burke. I'm the IT director for the Mars Society. I'm based in Seattle. We're the world's largest space advocacy group focused on Mars. I had the opportunity to organize our annual conference this year, which was an all virtual event. Got the opportunity to interview Elon Musk. And he's actually going to launch a rocket down the road from you guys on Friday at Boca Chica. So you should check that out.
Wow.
I'm working on a virtual reality project. We're an all-volunteer group, so I'm always looking for volunteers to help with our activities, our public outreach. Before COVID, we would go do outreach tables at different space events and different schools. And I know we have a chapter in Dallas as well as one in Houston. So definitely we'll have a presence in Texas. I'm also here, I have kind of another hat. I work at a company called Arctic Consulting. That's my day job, and formerly was with Microsoft. And so Arctic, we're a Gold Microsoft partner, and I started a consulting practice this year to help nonprofits with their technology and helping to apply digital technology to their current activities. I put on a webinar recently on how nonprofits can manage their volunteers using a solution I developed using Microsoft SharePoint. I'm also going to do one in a couple of weeks on how nonprofits can manage writing grant proposals, especially if they have several of them to write all at once, and a solution to kind of track all that. So I can help your nonprofit with getting free offers from Microsoft and Google. And I'd love for you, just invite you to come to my webinar, because I'm new at this and I'd love to get just feedback on how I'm doing. So I'll put both my email and my LinkedIn profile into the chat, and please connect with me if you're interested in anything I've talked about or just want to talk about Mars. That'd be fine too.
James, are you a member of the Austin Nonprofit Meetup Facebook group?
I am not, but I will join that, absolutely.
Join that, because then you can post your webinar in there, and that's a broader audience. Mars, that's pretty interesting. That's as different as it gets, I think. Thank you, James.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, how about Jen? Jen's been here before.
Hello, yes, this is my second meetup with y'all. I am the center manager here at Austin Creative Reuse. We are locally obviously here in Austin. Our mission is to foster conservation and reuse through creativity, education, and community building. We operate a creative reuse center in Windsor Park where we take donations from individuals and businesses, and then we do whatever needs to be done to them to get them back out into the hands of the creative community. So you can sort of think of it as like a thrift store for arts and crafts supplies.
Oh.
We handle all of those things that the larger organizations can't put the time and attention into. So taking big mixed bags of things and breaking them down into smaller, more attractive parcels. I guess that being said, one of our needs is always volunteers. We are run by both volunteer and staff. We have, we're up to 17 staff members currently, including our admin team. But in 2019, 47% of all labor hours was done by volunteers. So we still heavily depend on volunteers. Yeah, that's us.
So if you haven't come to very many, you haven't met Conley, right? With Pass Along Project, have you met her yet?
No.
Okay, I need to connect you two, all right? So let me make a note of that. She is a one-man show, one-woman show, and I'm just in love with what she does in her nonprofit, but I think you two could collaborate. So I'm gonna connect you two, okay?
Awesome, thank you, Nancy.
This is fun. All right, let's see. Cynthia. It's so nice.
Hola.
By the way, folks, she's not going to tell you, but she's also an attorney. So she never mentions it. So I do.
I would not have said that. That's true. I'm Cynthia Herrera, CEO of Project Transitions, and we are an organization that houses and cares for folks impacted by HIV/AIDS here in Texas, in Central Texas. We own and manage the only 30 units available and reserved specifically for this population. We provide affordable housing and wraparound support services to people who are experiencing homelessness and again impacted by HIV. We also have a recuperative care center and hospice called Doug's House, which is how it all got started. But today, unlike at the height of the AIDS epidemic, folks going into Doug's House, about 80% of them actually recover now through our recuperative care program and go on to live full lives, usually in either other permanent housing or housing by Project Transitions. So we know that the homelessness and HIV homelessness is really a big issue in Austin. A lot of people think that AIDS is maybe something of the past, but we know that it is still spreading, and particularly in the American South. And that includes right here in Central Texas. So we have numbers now that say that about 1,500 people are currently living just in the Austin area with HIV and struggling with housing instability. So that's 1,500 people that are not going to get to the place they need to, where they will be undetectable and unable to transmit HIV. And that's why we are building housing as healthcare. So we are, over the next 2 years, going from these 30 units, the only 30 units that have existed for this population in Central Texas, to 109 units again over the next 2 years. So the first phase of our construction projects has broken ground just last week, and we're going to be doubling our one property there called Roosevelt Gardens from 22 to 40 units, and then we'll go on to another 61 unit project in the summer. So that is as condensed as I can get it. Yeah.
And we should mention that this woman has been running a capital campaign in the middle of a pandemic.
That's true.
And she's still here.
I'm still standing. And I don't know if I told you, Nancy, but I landed my first major gift of $250,000.
Woo! Yay! I'm so excited.
Yes, and so we're so excited to say that Roosevelt Gardens is 100% fully funded, which means that it is going to happen come hell or high water. So construction is starting. We're so thrilled, and it is possible. You know, life continues and it's happening. So we have a committee together. We are rolling out our capital campaign. We're in the quiet phase right now. We'll go into, you know, a public phase later on, of course, but we still have a multi-million-dollar capital campaign to tackle. So we're looking in the range of $3 to $4 million capital campaign that we'll be tackling. And so it's going to be a big challenge, but we're up to it. And we know that it's so important that this housing be built, especially considering just the homelessness epidemic here in Austin. We really see it as a dual crisis of HIV and homelessness that we're tackling. What we need is community support. We want all the visibility we can get, because we know that sometimes project transitions in general, even with Doug's house, all the great work that has been done over the last 30 years, sometimes it feels like we're the best kept secret in town. And so we don't want that. We want everyone to know what we're doing, because not only, you know, for partnerships, but also for the people that need it the most. Everybody should have that knowledge that there's a place for them to go. And so that's something that we need. And the other thing that we need is actually board members and committee members. So we have a lot of opportunities right now for people to get involved during this really exciting time of growth for PT. And so we want to attract people to the board that can help us with corporate engagement, or can help us with tapping into the affordable housing circles here in Austin. Or of course, anybody that has affiliations with the cause in general, with HIV. And, you know, it's great to hear about the folks that are doing substance use work and things like that, because, and talking about diversity, you know, I could go on and on about our organization, but the people that we serve are really at all the intersections that you hear about, right? A majority of the people that we serve are people of color. A majority of the people that we serve have mental health conditions. A majority of the people that we serve have substance use dependency and trauma, and are extremely low poverty and have struggled with homelessness. So we're doing it all. We're taking the hardest cases, but you know, we need the community to support us all the way through. And so anybody that is interested in board services is something that I'm looking for. I'm also looking to do something called just a sustainable funding team. People that will hold us to account on getting the word out in a strategic way, month in, month out, to the community, finding the people, finding our people, you know, who really care about what we're doing. And so we have opportunities there too. And then of course we have just general volunteer opportunities. So we're looking for more people, as you would say, Nancy, the people part of it. So that's what we're looking for. And we have opportunities there.
So visibility is an issue for you. And so I know I've been talking about this since August. I really want to tell that guy's story, that one client of yours. Is he still around?
Yeah, he's still in our hosting. Yep.
Okay, so I mean, storytelling is a critical way that we need to be using to get our stories out there. And then also how to, once you, storytelling is an art, story collection is an art. And once you pull that story together, how do you get it into the community? So I still want to work with you on that.
Oh yeah, that's really timely. Thank you for bringing that up. We'll talk about that offline, I suppose.
All right, how about Suzanne? Where are you? Where'd you go? There you are. Suzanne.
Right here. Hi. Suzanne Wilson here with Water to Thrive. We are Austin-based nonprofit. We've been around since 2008, and our mission's very simple. We transform lives in rural communities in Africa by providing clean water. So basically, those are well projects, and we've learned that just putting a well and providing clean water is not something that is enough. There also has to be sanitation and hygiene training, training about the maintenance and fee collection, because we're a very small nonprofit. We have basically, there's 2 of us full time, 4 part-time people in the office. So we don't have time to go back and always, we funded over 1,116 wells. So when I travel there, I don't have time to go to every single rural village and check on every single project. So it's really about working with those communities and making sure that they can sustain those projects. So that's a key part of it, and greatly impacts women and young girls, because they are the primary collectors of water. So it's really about reducing that time element, so they don't spend all day walking miles to collect dirty, filthy, disease-filled water. It's about making sure that they can collect clean water just a few minutes from their houses. So that's our mission. We provided water since that time for over 500,000 people in Ethiopia, Uganda, and Tanzania. I think one of the things that we need, again, is expansion of our board. When I came to the organization 5 years ago, we had 5 board members, and they were all old white men, and I tell them that. They've added 3, and I've been pushing them. It's like pulling teeth. 3 new board members. I'm like, we represent a segment, we represent Africa, but we have no people of color, no diversity on our board. So that's something I've really been pushing the board to do. And I don't feel like it's my position to recruit board members. I feel like they need to be doing that, but it's been a difficult sell for them. The other thing that I've been working on and need help with is I've been working to establish an endowment, so to create some sustainability for our organization, and also a monthly giving program. And the reason I'm here today is partly because everything I've ever done with Nancy has been value plus. And I've attended in my 20 years of nonprofit management all kinds of seminars, classes, workshops, certifications. And for a few dollars, every time I walk away and go, wow, that was so much value for what we received. And so that's why I like Nancy and everything. Can't always attend because I'm busy and sometimes off the grid in Africa, but I value everything that she brings to the table and everything I've gained from being part of what she's presented.
Oh my God. I'm so glad I did this. I felt I was a little depressed earlier. Thank you, Suzanne. Let's see, wait a minute. That was it. Oh, and Suzanne, why don't you share? You had an amazing success right in the middle of a pandemic. So would you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, when COVID started, we have our signature fundraising event that supports our operations. We 100% of our donations for water go in the field, so we don't keep anything out for overhead operations. So we're like, how the hell are we going to fund our organization this year with all of our events that are canceled? Our board really stepped forward. I had a contingency plan of, this is contingency A, B, and C, and part of it was like, okay, I'll take a reduction in salary because we have very few areas where we can really cut. But we set a goal of raising $160,000 to replace those operational funds from that gala. We hit over $250,000 for that campaign.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I
I'm like,
love it.
I get to keep my job.
Yay! This is great. Thank you so much, Suzanne. I love seeing you. How about Jess? This is your first meetup, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it is. Hi. Okay, I'm Jess. I am based in Austin, but I'm affiliated with a educational nonprofit out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's brand new. It's called the Beverly Ann Miller Institute for Civic Biodesign. And what it is, and I'm kind of unofficial with my position there because I'm both like a student fellow and recently I don't know, been elevated to a co-designer of the program because, well, anyway, I should explain what it is first. See, I'm very green. But it's a graduate level program designed based on the principles of permaculture, based on whole systems thinking, based on 7-generation thinking. But it isn't just for people who are in agriculture, because I am definitely not. And the idea is that it's in community context. So there's no classes and there's no classrooms. It is we go out, we decide what our projects are, we find competencies, and it's project based. We find competencies, we find people in our community who are experts or who have knowledge in this area, and they we appeal to them to assist us in these projects. And anyway, so that's like a short pitch, and I'll get better at this, but I recently stepped up and was like, hey, like this seems, my interpretation of this program is like, this is like a really equitable structure, I feel, more so than a lot of traditional higher education structures, and I really wanted the anti-racism piece to be embedded in the DNA and the structure of this from the get-go. So I raised my hand and I said, can I be a student and a designer of the institute? And they said, sure. So here I am.
Cool.
So I'm new to everything. I'm new to nonprofit work outside of just being a volunteer. I think the piece that I'm going to be working on primarily is going to be the diversity, the equity, the anti-racism, the inclusion. But it's a really small organization right now. And I know that they're talking about board members and stuff. So I'll probably get filled in as I go on all those things. So I met Nancy in an anti-racism learning circle that was actually based in Chicago. And I'm so glad. We just intersected perfectly.
Yes. Yeah, it's really weird. In fact, I wish he would have come today. He did join us on the Nonprofit Meetup Facebook page, but it's called Collabra Action, and it's a theater group that their mission has to do with social justice, even though they're a theater group. I don't quite get it. I hope I learn more. But anyway, yes, that's where I met Jess. That was cool. And welcome, Jess, and I hope you keep coming. Okay, how about this? Stop Now is a nonprofit. Steve, it says, but I don't know Steve's last name. So Steve, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you. I am Steve Elson. I'm based out of Austin as well. I was in touch with Leap to, I don't know, Shannon, I believe she knows me.
Leap to Success, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Basically, I have been working on the nonprofit like in the last couple of months, and I was associated with this board, Stop Now Foundation. So it's quite exciting, and they are doing some really cool social experimental work, and we need more volunteers and freelancers, and they are even paying the volunteers in a reasonable way. And that is why I'm here, like with all the other people, to grab someone who is interested in that foundation work and help them out in doing some awesome work that you all do in other nonprofits.
Thank you, Steve. Nice to have you. Now, is it Sorrow? I don't know if I'm saying your name right or yes? You want to? Yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Sarah. Mohammed is my last name. I am the volunteer executive director of Capacity Catalyst. We are 2.5-year-old nonprofit. We were founded in April of 2018, and I was on the board then, and assumed the executive director position in April of this year. As we pivot from being an all volunteer organization, which we still are, to being a resourced, sort of grown up organization, nonprofit that can sustain and scale some of its programming. So our mission at Capacity Catalyst is to improve data use in the social sector by connecting capacity with need for a thriving, equitable social data ecosystem. Our sort of flagship program is an externship. This year, we pivoted from a semester externship to a summer externship in the middle of a pandemic, and we were able to make that pivot successfully. We have our externs have turned out to be, but do not have to be, graduate students with data research, measurement, evaluation skills. And our host organizations who receive those skills are social sector organizations, including nonprofits, for-benefit, for-profits, and government organizations that have a need for those research skills that they can't fill in-house. As you may be aware, as you all work at nonprofits, research and evaluation tend to be the most required sort of resources when it comes to seeking grants and also reporting on your grants. Mm-hmm. And they are the least paid for resources by funders. So there is a real need within, especially the nonprofit sector, for these kinds of skills to be applied in order to, have any thriving nonprofit organization. We also run 2 other programs. So we partner with Measure, which is a data activism nonprofit led by Mimi Stiles, and Houston Tillotson University to implement a community engaged research course. So this is an undergraduate course with a practicum component through which we match teams of undergraduates with nonprofits to answer a research question as a part of their learning about community engaged research. We piloted it in 2019 in the fall at Houston Tillotson, and we are about to have it again at Houston Tillotson next spring. It will be all virtual next spring because HT knows that they will be virtual. And then we're also expanding it to Texas State in the fall next year. So we are working with undergraduates who are attending. Houston Tillotson is Austin's HBCU, historically Black college or university. Texas State University is a Hispanic serving institution. So we are trying to grow the number of Black and Brown researchers in the Austin area and giving them applied experiences to be able to better serve their own communities when it comes to research and evaluation. The third program is one that was just funded. And so this is in partnership again with Measure and HT, but also with UT. And it's going to be a social justice informatics faculty fellowship. And so we will have a cohort of almost 30 faculty fellows that are coming from the University of Texas at Austin across departments, Houston Tillotson University across departments, local nonprofits, there are 9 of them that will be represented, as well as the city of Austin. And all of these fellows will be learning together through a weekly seminar in the spring. They will form teams in the summer around research questions of interest to the nonprofits and the city. And then they will develop a proposal and a research design and plan to be able to answer those research questions through the fall that they can then use as a proposal to fully fund those research projects. So we're really trying to bridge the gap between academia and the social sector in order to advance data use and informatics for social justice. So I've been very busy.
Yeah.
I am here though, primarily because we need operational funds, and 2020 was not the year to take that job on. I've learned that one of the downsides to being able to doing a lot with a little is that it doesn't really convince the people who have a lot to give you and what they have, because if you can get stuff done with no money, why should we fund you? But that being said, we have been fairly successful in covering things like the externship, in getting the grant for the faculty fellowship. And so right now we are in the thick of fundraising for the course, which is our next major funding milestone. And I'm also operationally seeking funds just to be able to not be an all volunteer organization anymore and to be able to staff ourselves, and myself, frankly, in our executive director position. And we hope to be able to also hire at least a part-time program manager as well sometime in 2021.
Well, please keep coming. We're going to help you. Everything you just said, I was going, oh my God, wow. Are you a member of the Facebook group?
Yes.
You are. I would recommend that you post in there about what you're doing and what you're offering, but also, and Shannon, I'm going to come to you in a second, but what I didn't mention is a program I'm going to start where I'm going to be using Facebook Live to interview people, and clearly I think all of you should be on that, but Shannon, you go first. Just what you do, what your nonprofit does. Yeah.
Hello, hello. I wore my holiday festive pink flamingos for you today. I am the new executive director for Launchpad Job Club. Launchpad's been around since 2001. It was originally a program of Texas Workforce Solutions. So if you ever were unemployed, you probably went to a Workforce Solutions office. And then in 2005, it became its own nonprofit. But previous to this role, since I am the first paid staffer for the organization, I have for the last 8 years been the program manager for the Leap to Success program. And what Leap to Success does, and please take advantage of us. I looked around and I see we have helped a quarter of you here. We do pro bono short-term professional projects for other nonprofits. So that will be so our people, our professionals who are looking for work can keep their skills sharp, maybe learn a few new ones, etc., and be able to deliver something that you yourself either don't have the time, the expertise, the budget to do on your own. And so we have helped, I think we've done in the 8 years that I've been leading the program, we've done more than 100 projects for more than I think like 70 or 80 nonprofits. So it's been a very rewarding experience. And we've done everything from designing logos to like for Settlement Home for Children, they needed routers and repeaters set up so they can have their Wi-Fi. We have done websites, databases, social media marketing plans, financial reviews. I mean, you name it, and it's a professional thing, we've probably done it. We've even done online e-courses, but please don't ask me for one, they take too long. But that's what we do, and we would love to be able to help you out. I will say that for those of you who have been putting your information in the chat, good for you. We encourage that every Friday morning at Launchpad Job Club, mainly for our people to connect with one another, because we're used to meeting in person. I know that all of us are used to being in offices at one point or another, and it's weird. This has been a weird year, but I will say that thank goodness for Zoom. As many issues as I've had personally with Zoom, I am very grateful for it, because I think it has allowed us to maintain a sense of community, even as disjointed as we are. And I'm hoping that Nancy's Meetup will be something that you will share with other nonprofits, because I think that this is a really safe, wonderful space for us to all share with one another and to be able to connect and partner. I have had wonderful partnerships out in the community with other nonprofits, and I think you will be surprised at how many organizations come to me and say, you know, I think I want to start an afternoon after school program to help kids with tutoring. And I'll be like, have you done your homework? Have you kind of looked around to see what else is out there doing that thing? Because what you want to do may actually be a better served as a program for a currently funded, established nonprofit, rather than trying to as we always say, slice that baby, you know, and try to have those. Thank you, Sean. I know you understand. So, you know, definitely get to know people around you and your other nonprofits and see where you can partner. That's
You know, it's really true about collaboration. I remember learning that years ago. Funders love it when nonprofits can collaborate together. So that's one thing I'm hoping that we get out of this. Of course, one of my loves is to share the information and experience that I have. So that's why I do all the nuts and bolts stuff every month. But I love this type of, you know, just learning that Denise is, you know, and I know there's two other people in this group that they could all work together, you know. So yeah, I just love this format. So what I want to do is, before we end today, all right, so should I even say this? Okay, you know, I do have to make a living. And even though when I was a lawyer, I didn't make a living because I did so much pro bono work that I never made a dime, you know. And I love giving like that. So here, one of the things I want to say is that I struggle with marketing because I hate it. I don't know how to do it. I have to learn it, and I hate it. And so recently I took another little mini course on marketing your Facebook group. I didn't like that concept, but I do need to do it. So because I need to market the group and get more people involved in Austin Nonprofit Meetup, just because I love Austin Nonprofit Meetup, I came up with this idea, and that was to expand on what we're doing today. Number one, I have to learn how to use Facebook Live, and I'm old and I hate learning new stuff, but I do need to learn how to do it. And I would like to interview like we've done today. And because nonprofit leaders have no time, basically, a little time, keep the interviews to maybe 15 minutes. So it's a longer time than you have today. But you know, choose you guys, and we have 224 members of Austin Nonprofit Meetup. So I would like to start doing that. If I can figure out a way to do it weekly, I'd like to do it weekly. It'll take me a little time to learn and get comfortable, and I hope to start that in January. But when I was listening to you guys today, I was very touched with the work that you're all doing and the passion you're bringing to the work and the skills you're bringing in. I mean, I love this stuff. So I think I want to do that. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the diversity pieces. And some of you said you wanted to expand diversity, increase diversity on your board. So we'll be doing that in January. Let me go back to my shared screen here for a second. Just 2 seconds. Let's see. So from current slide. Oh, I know this one. Sorry. So what did you think, folks, of those filters, the 3 ways that we can help address these issues in our country of discrimination, racism, that kind of thing? Just pop in, or do you want me to call on you?
I'd love to jump in. This is Sorrow.
Hi.
Thank you for inviting us and sharing your thoughts with us. So of the 3 filters, I think the first 2 made sense and were very interesting to me, but I did want to offer a brief reaction to the 3rd one. So folks may not remember, but the 3rd one had to do with what do we do and how do we bring people along, right? So when we encounter folks with differing perspectives or their actions are operating in a racist way, you know, how do we change their behaviors? And I would like to offer this as an observation. I don't know this group well. This is the first time that I've joined, and so I hope that you all take this in the spirit with which I am offering, which is I really truly mean to be helpful, and I am trying to be generous by sharing. But one of the things that I have noticed as a woman of color who is often in spaces that are predominantly filled with, you know, those who have white bodies, and especially in spaces where anti-racism, social justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion are the goal of the conversation, I have found that the conversation often trends towards sort of external strategies, right? So how do we bring people along? How do we change people's behaviors? You know, when we encounter those with racist values, how do we change their minds? And my reaction to that is often, well, one, Nancy, something that you mentioned, right? Which is that it's hard to change other people and to, you know, take the responsibility for trying to change other people. But the other is that the systems that have perpetuated oppression in society are actually not overtly racist, right? So there are not laws anymore which say that Black Americans, for example, cannot vote. That was a law and we changed it. And now in theory, right, the system allows Black Americans to vote. But as we all know, that plays out in very different ways in different places. And so the system that is racist is actually not built on overtly racist ideals. And so I would love for there to be a space, or for this to be a space where instead of thinking about primarily how do we change other people, I would love for us to be thinking about how we change ourselves and our own actions and the decisions that we are making. Because if we each do that, then we are changing the system. And I think for me, I did not grow up in the US. And so in many ways, I did not become a minority until I moved to the US. It was very eye-opening in my own DEI journey when I realized how entrenched and bought into oppressive and white supremacist systems I was. And so I think for me, it would be far more valuable if we flipped that third sort of, and instead of looking outwardly first, we spend time looking inwardly.
I love that perspective, and goes back to what my friend said about you can't change anybody you can't touch. And what she meant, you can't change behavior. I mean, I raised a daughter. Of course you can't change behavior, you know. So yeah, I totally agree with you. So the challenge then is, especially in a pandemic world where we're not in person, when I used to do the mediation training program, taught people how to be mediators over a 40-hour week, and we came to that piece about appreciating our differences. It was a real hands-on piece. You know, we had a schmushy globe that we used, and we talked about where our family was from and told stories about our family, and just learn to listen. We did active listening thing, you know. So that's a huge challenge to me, is how you actually touch people so that in a way that they appreciate one another. So yeah, external strategies other than systematic strategies, you know, like voter suppression and providing, you know, those kinds of things. Other than that, you're right. I don't believe you can simply change behavior. So anybody else want to? Thank you, Sarah. That was really important. Thank you. Anybody else want to comment on, will you attend meetups on this topic, on these topics? Okay. Yay.
Nancy, I'll add one thing real quick off of what Sarah was saying. When I attended an anti-racism training or an undoing racism training, one thing that they talked about was just assessing power, right? Like going and finding where the power lies and finding it in ourselves is important. And the way that they phrased it was talking about gatekeepers, which stuck with me. So I just wanted to mention it in this space because when you think about your power, a lot of times we think we're powerless. We're just these little like nonprofit folks, you know, we're not going to change the whole system. But like Sarah said, if we are checking ourselves, essentially, it can be extremely powerful if everyone were to do that. And the gatekeeper language was important to me because it just challenged me to really think about, and I was an attorney at the time doing DV work. And I realized when they challenged me to say, like, you are a gatekeeper, how are you a gatekeeper? It made me realize, oh, I totally am a gatekeeper. Like, I get to decide whose case and essentially whose life is important enough to get free services, free legal services. And we know that legal services can change people's lives, right? And so it's just a thing I wanted to share because it helped me understand that I had power at the time. I didn't know it.
Oh man, I wish you would have been around when I was practicing law, because I always thought of myself as a lawyer as being pretty damn powerless when it came to the justice system. It was kind of awful. I thought the justice system was awful. I ended that career feeling powerless. I never thought about it that way. And yet I did it. I represented indigent Native Americans for 25 years.
Right.
Oh my goodness. It's
Yeah,
just a shift in your thinking.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I mean, really, I should know that because I really became an attorney for that reason, in that I seen that my community did not have the power to access justice. Like that was really why I became an attorney. I looked around and realized attorneys won't even take your case. I mean, not only if you don't have money, but I mean, just literally legal aid, it's hard to get an attorney for free. It's hard to get an attorney that's paid if you don't have money, right? And so, yeah, all of us have power. Just being in institutions is powerful. Just being a professional is powerful. Just having, it's basically almost like a privilege check, but it helped me understand like gatekeeping, like you are literally deciding who gets, certain things or gets to move in certain spaces.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to share? I've got just a couple more things. Nancy?
Yeah. Hi, Nancy. Yes, Steve here. I want to.
There you go. Now start.
Number 3 on the list, Nancy, just kind of made my heart beat faster, because I think many of us have been dealing with this very issue, whether it's racism or political differences or whatever. There's such an emotional component, such frustration that family members sometimes aren't even speaking to each other.
Yeah.
And in terms of, changing other people, I really like Sorrow's suggestion that we first work on ourselves, because to draw just an example from my personal life, I had been producing for a friend of mine a handout having to do with home funerals, because actually in Texas, you don't need to use a funeral director at all, but you need to do a lot of planning and preparation. And on the list of supplies for home funerals was dry shampoo. Well, that looked just fine until I went to a Zoom session with a Black funeral director, and she happened to mention during her presentation that dry shampoo was not suitable for most people's hair when they're Black. And I'm going like, oh my God. So you see, there is just a personal example of how just not knowing we can make mistakes. So I think that there's plenty of work left for us to do on ourselves. And then if we just walk the talk, we've already done a lot.
Yeah, and you raise an important thing, is learning to be okay with asking questions. How would you have even known that? I feel like in part we have to feel safe enough and secure enough in ourselves not to be afraid to ask questions. It's maybe somebody of color or whatever the issue is you're dealing with. Jess, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay. So I think all the feedback has been really great from what I know of social justice work and undoing racism. And I guess one thing I just want to say something I'm really interested in this arena is language and converting. Like that's a problem that was like my number one complaint with the institute that I'm affiliated with, is like, this really only speaks to like kind of white educated elite people. And I do think that there maybe isn't a one size fits all with how and who you communicate with, so I'm personally interested in that piece. And with I could feel like this maybe ties a little into into funding, and I guess I will maybe learn, so sorry if this is like common practice, but with the piece of that Nancy brought up about asking questions, you know, kind of it's best to ask the people who, you know, who are affected, but you want to compensate them for their time. And I feel like that's something that I'm going to have to be bringing up with my organization, is like budgeting for consultations with those folks to pay for their emotional labor and their personal experience and everything, so that we're not just speaking to high level people who study, you know, we're speaking to people who are invested at the personal level. And yeah, but yeah, I just firmly believe in paying people for their time and experience. And
it's a great point. That's a great point. All right, I think I'm going to go back to my screen here for a second. So it sounds like this is a topic that we could do a lot on. So I'm happy to hear that you guys are interested. So Shannon always tells me that I don't promote myself enough. So here it goes, my little tiny bit of promotion. Let me go to here. So two people here, Cynthia and Suzanne, have taken my monthly giving class that's online. It is an $87 program that if you've been to an online meetup, you get $20 off. So 67 bucks for a lovely little online class. And the description is on this link. But you don't want to enroll on that link. You'd have to email me to get the other link that is the discount. Okay, so there's that. And then there's my main course, which is building teams to build funds. And I'm not really doing much to promote that right now. I'm just reminding people I have it. It is basically how to build a team between your leadership staff and your board, because there's often a lot of conflict in that relationship. So the first 3 lessons are about that, about the relationship, and then how to engage in a major gift program together. That's a bigger course. And like I said, I'm not really promoting it very much right now. I want to do more of those little mini courses like the monthly giving program. And I want to thank Miss Shannon for always being here and helping. She's just an amazing lady, and she makes me laugh. We email all the time, and I live alone other than my 2 feral cats that have been brought into the house. So, you know, I think it's important to have somebody that makes you laugh in your life right now. And I want to thank Sean, and I want to thank all of you for showing up. And remember to join Austin Nonprofit Meetup, especially the Facebook group. I am going to I got a little SBA loan with that CARES Act money, and I want to start promoting the group. And I want that to be a more active place where we can really support one another and just collaborate more. So, all right. Does anybody have anything else before we sign off? Anybody?
Nancy, the only thing I'll say is if you guys want to save the chat for any links to all those wonderful links that everybody's giving for their LinkedIn profiles and links to your websites, click on the 3 dots in the lower right corner. It will save it for you.
Yeah.
It's not a very pretty format, but it will save it for you.
All right. I'm just really touched by the work all of you do and the concern that you bring and the passion, and hope to see you in January for Sean's operations meetup, and that first meetup on improving the diversity of nonprofits. Don't know if it'll be January or February, somewhere in there. It'll depend on my time. So, all right, folks, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Good to meet y'all.
All right. Talk to you later, guys.
Thanks. Nice to meet everyone.